Okay, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Amanda Fest podcast, where our mission is simple. It's to inspire and empower you to take aligned action towards your dream life, whatever that looks like for you. So today we have another solo episode, but as we've done with every episode before we drop in, we're just going to take a moment to ground down, connect to our bodies, and arrive in the here and now. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, if it's safe to do so, I invite you to close down your eyes. I like to put a hand on my heart and one on my belly. And just start breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth, really grounding down into the present moment. Arriving in the here and now. With each inhale, I want you to imagine setting an intention. Feel like you're breathing in whatever that intention is, whatever it is you're calling in, and you can feel it filling your body up in through the nose. And as you exhale through your mouth, imagine whatever is no longer in alignment with that intention is physically leaving your body. You're releasing that on that exhale. So a couple breaths just like that in through the nose with your intention. And out through the mouth. Letting it go. In through the nose. And out through the mouth. Last one, make it count in through the nose. All right, shake it out. Arrive. Hello. Welcome. Welcome to Amanda Fest. Welcome to your bodies. And welcome to today's episode. All right, so it's been a few weeks since we last spoke. I took a week off because there was so much going on as I was traveling and moving around, and I was trying to pop one out for you guys while I was in California, and it was just not happening. So I surrendered and I waited, and last week was officially my 1-year anniversary of the podcast and my 50th episode, which were both pretty big milestones. If you haven't listened to the last episode, I am really proud of that one. I had the founder of Orange Theory Fitness on to talk about her journey and experience building her empire. I'm just so excited that I'm continuing to get more and more successful guests and inspiring guests and people that we don't normally have access to hearing their stories. And when you get to sit down and chat with them and learn from them and be around them, it is amazing. One of the things that was coming up during my workout this morning, I was thinking about if I had one piece of advice to give to someone, if someone asked me that, what would my answer be? And I think one of the most profound pieces of wisdom that I still really hold true to my heart is that you become the 5 people you spend the most time with. So being really mindful about who you're surrounding yourself with, because you will become like those people. And in this day and age, it doesn't necessarily have to be people that you're interacting with or people that you're with every single day. It could be podcasts that you're listening to. It could be shows that you're watching. It could be TikToks and Reels and who you're following on social media. All of these factors play a role in who you are stepping into and who you're becoming. I saw a reel this morning that I really resonated with, that it was like, make sure that you're with friends that support your growth, because if you are somebody that's evolving and continuing to grow and to step into this next iteration, like, you want to be around people that see that future version of you, as opposed to people who are really happy with the way that you are right now. If some amazing opportunity comes about and you go to those friends, they may be less inclined to support you in evolving because they don't want you to change. And this is very human. There's nothing wrong with that, but there is something wrong with being somebody who is desiring to grow and evolve and change and having a circle of people that don't want you to change. So always important to audit and evaluate, how am I spending my time? How am I spending my energy? Who am I spending my time and energy with? And how does that shape me? And how does that affect and leak into my being? Because it does. So that's that on that. let's get into my last few weeks. So last time we spoke, I was just about to head to Atlanta, and it's so crazy to think about all the things that have happened since then. I was looking back at my camera roll and I was kind of reflecting on the month, and I was like, yo, in the month of May alone, so that's 4 weeks, I was on 6 flights, 5 different cities, 2 different countries, and 2 different festivals, which was a lot. It's a lot. Thinking about the fact that I started May in Mexico City and was wrapping up my month there, and then all of the things that unfolded since then, it's just wild to me. So I went to Atlanta to stay with my friend who I have known since middle school. He's a very close friend of mine. I didn't realize that he was about to embark on his own journey. He recently went fully remote and is looking to start his own journey similar to mine. And so it was very cool to get to visit him basically right before his journey begins. So he's lived in Atlanta for years and I haven't made it out there to visit him yet. So it's cool that I got to go and experience his stomping grounds before he moves on to this next chapter of his life. And it was very special to get to connect with him, especially since I'm a few steps ahead of him in that process, and just get to encourage him and support him in that way. So that was super beautiful. It was my first time in Atlanta. It was interesting. I'm going to be really honest, I didn't do too much. So we were only there for a few days. Particularly, we were there for a music festival. I had a different friend that had won free tickets to Breakaway, and you were able to pick like whatever festival you wanted to go to. And she reached out to me because she doesn't really go to festivals and was like, hey, I won this thing. Do you want it? So she passed it off to me, and then they were like, yeah, you could pick whatever city you want to go to. And I was like, sick. So I was looking at all the different lineups, looking at all the different cities. And for me, like, people ask me all the time, they're like, when you travel, they're like, how have you been traveling like this for the last 2 years? The first question everybody asks me is, oh, do you have a van? And then when I say I don't have a van, they're like kind of confused. And they're like, so do you get Airbnbs? Do you get hotels? How do you travel like this? And the answer is, I have been traveling the way that I have been for the last 2 years because I have an incredible network. I have amazing friends all around the world that are open to housing me and want to see me. And I am very, very privileged and fortunate in that capacity. And so when I was looking at these festivals, the lineups were different for each of the cities, but I was like, cool, what's a city that I know somebody else in? Because ideally would like to go to a city where I know somebody so I can stay with them so that I don't have to spend a shit ton of money on this trip. So I was looking it up, and the Atlanta one was perfectly aligned. There was a very good lineup for the Tampa one, but it was while I was still in Mexico, and I wasn't going to come back from Mexico early for this. So very long story short, I ended up choosing Atlanta. I reached out to my friend. I have a very close friend that lives in Atlanta who I hadn't seen yet. So it was kind of like a win-win perfect situation. That's how the Atlanta trip unfolded. He said, yes, we planned this months ago. And I'm so glad that I went. It was great. But yeah, my intention for the trip was to go to just the festival. So he kept being like, oh, like, I feel like you're a tourist here. I have to show you around. And I was like, I'm going to be really honest, as somebody who's been traveling for the amount of time that I have been, sometimes you just need to veg. You know how when you live at home, you have nothing days, you have days where you're just exhausted and tired and you just want to lay on the couch and do nothing. Some people do this weekly. Some people do this all the time. I am a go, go, go person. I am always on the move. I am always out and about. I'm always doing things. And so if I am desiring to be sedentary, that is a big fucking deal. The first night we went to this town called Roswell, which is where his parents live, and he took me to this food and music festival type of thing. It was like a community event. It was cute though. They had some jam bands that were actually really good. So I know this friend from middle school. We did drama club together when we were kids. So it's very cool sometimes to get to reconnect with old childhood friends. It was just very sweet and nostalgic, and we just have a great time. We're both very outgoing people. We're both very comfortable talking to strangers. So it's very fun seeing the way in which we both move through the world. So we go to this community event festival thing. We go to a pub and we were going to go get dinner, and we walk in and they were like, yeah, it's going to be an hour wait for food. And we were like, And then I ended up chatting with this couple that was right next to us. Basically, they pretended we were joining their table because they were about to leave. So they pretended like we were joining their party so that we could order, and then they were going to leave. And it was this whole thing. It was very, very funny. It was so random. It was like an older couple and their friend, probably around both of our parents' age. So this was just a very funny experience. But I'm like mid-conversation with them, talking to them about my life, talking to them about Atlanta, talking to them about being a nomad, blah, blah. And I have this moment where I was like, holy shit, I think I have another friend that lives here. And it dawned on me in that moment while we were sitting there at the restaurant that I have a friend from summer camp from 10 years ago who I think lives in Georgia. So I texted her and I was like, hey, do you live in Atlanta? We figure out she does, and she's 45 minutes away from the town that I was in, which is 45 minutes away from Atlanta. So she was like, this is so crazy. It's insane that you're here. It's insane that you're literally in the town over from me. And I was like, well, we're staying here tonight before we go back to Atlanta. I'd love to see you. Mind you, I haven't seen this friend in 10 years since we've seen each other, which was high school. She's gotten married. She has 2 kids. She has a 5-month-old and a 2-year-old. And so I was like, let's get breakfast tomorrow. And she was like, yes. So I was like, of course, this reunion is going to unfold within hours when we haven't seen each other in 10 years. I love having friendships like this. I love when you have spent so much time building the foundation of a friendship that it is so strong that you can literally go 10 years without seeing people. And this is not the first time this has happened to me, especially with camp friends. I've just built these really, really strong, beautiful relationships with people that, like, we can't talk all the time. Humans do not have the capacity to have hundreds and hundreds and thousands of friends all the time. I am in constant communication with whoever I'm in proximity to, and I go through different seasons of being super close with certain friends and others. But just because we don't talk doesn't mean the love isn't still there. Just because we're not able to keep up constantly doesn't mean that the root of that relationship doesn't still exist. And I know this is a very controversial topic. I've had this conversation with many people, but it's like, as somebody who, even right now, I don't have a permanent home. I have friends all over the world. I do not have the bandwidth to check in with all of them 24/7. I love them. I care about them. And if I ever moved and was living next door or close to any one of them, it would be like no time has passed and the relationship is just like full steam ahead again. But this is the ebbs and flows of relationship. I know it's maybe different than how other people operate. Maybe other people prefer to have less friendships. This may not be for everybody, but this is how I've operated for basically my whole life, and it served me very, very well. Even when I went to Europe in 2023, I was staying with friends that I hadn't seen in 10 years, and it was like immediately as if no time had passed. And I was like, oh my God, if I lived here, we would be getting coffee every single day and going on walks together all the time. So just really cool to see when that happens. I mean, I think this friend that I was staying with already in Atlanta was an example of that. I had seen him more often than this friend, but I don't see him that often. We don't talk all the time. Like, it's just the way that it goes. So cut to the next morning, I met up with my friend. I met her 2-year-old, I met her 10-month-old, and seeing her was like, again, as if no time had passed. It was such a beautiful reunion. So happy that I remembered that she lived there. So that was really, really cool and unexpected and really exciting. And then, yeah, me and my friend, we went back to Atlanta, and he's not a big music festival person, but he enjoys it. So it was really cool to get to take him to a festival and show him the way that I do it, right? I think anybody that comes to a festival with me, you get to experience my version of partying. We did the ice plunge. We filled a bowl with ice water and like put our faces in it. We took naps before we went out. We set intentions, and it was really beautiful. So the first day we saw Le Youth, Tin Liquor, and Illenium. Before we went to the festival on the first day, my intention was to embody magic and to spread magic. So I had brought my business cards, which, if you don't know about my business cards, I created these Amanda Fest business cards that on the back of them, they have affirmations. It says, I am safe, I am connected, I am ready for magic. And the idea around the business cards was, you know, in festival culture, it's very common to bring little trinkets or gifts. And when you have a beautiful connection with somebody, you trade them and you give them the gift. And so I was like, how cool would it be to be able to gift affirmations? And then on the back of it, as an afterthought kind of thing, it's like it has Amanda Fest, and then it has my, you know, details. You can connect to my Instagram, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, how fun would this be to do? So this was the first festival that I actually got to do this at. And I practiced it so that I would hand you the affirmation card, affirmation side up, treat it as a gift, like, hey, we had this beautiful connection. I would love to gift this thing to you. Have a really beautiful connected moment with somebody, and then be like, yeah, if you want to connect with me, my info's on the back. It went so well. People absolutely loved it. Some people were putting the card on their phone case. Like, it was such a cool experience. Also, we had VIP, so we got to go up to the front and just be able to dance. And it was so fun seeing my friend at this festival and the way that his energy was, and just to, it was such a core memory, such a sweet, wholesome experience, especially, again, with such an old friend, you know, getting to just create new memories and have beautiful, wonderful experiences like that. So then night 2, he wanted to invite a friend of his. So I was like, yeah, for sure. The more the merrier. Let's fucking do it. So it ended up being me and these 2 boys, which now as I reflect and think about it, I'm like, this continues to happen to me. I'm like, I ended up getting adopted by a group of 3 guys in Tulum. Then I ended up at this festival with 2 guys. We're going to fast forward to Lightning in a Bottle. It was me and a group of 3 guys. And same thing happened at Tomorrowland. I feel like the last bunch of festivals that I went to, it's been me and a group of guys, which is very, very funny because I'm so in my masculine energy when I go to events or when I travel, because I'm so used to being alone that I'm in that solo warrior energy of like, I'm got it, I'm good, I don't need anybody, I can protect myself. And it's very different when you're with guys, because there's a level of relaxing that I'm able to do that I'm not able to do when I'm alone, because I know that I'm safe and I'm protected. So that was really interesting. I was so excited about the lineup for night 2. So it was Disco Lines, Chris Lake, and Zed. And I was like, my intention for the evening is just to like, we had found a really good spot on night 1. I love me an elevated surface. One thing about me is I love dancing above the crowd, because I do get a little bit claustrophobic. I'm either love being at the front rail or on an elevated surface, because I like having breathing room in front of me and not feeling like I'm being suffocated. And so we had found a really, really good spot on night 1. In the VIP area, there was like these raised surfaces that was like right catty corner to the stage. And I was like, this is so perfect. So for night 2, I was like, my intention is to go to our spot, fucking post up. All of the artists that I wanted to see that night were at the main stage. So I wasn't going to be bouncing between both stages. And I was like, I just want to lock into the music. I want to be super present with this music, and I am ready to fucking roll. So we got there. First set, we got there about halfway through. It was pretty good. Chris Lake came on, and I was kind of disappointed. I'm not going to lie. I've seen him before, and he's brought the energy, but I don't know if it was because he wasn't the headliner or whatever it was. It just like wasn't giving, and you could see like the whole crowd, like the energy was just kind of and I was like, maybe I'm really tired, like I'm just not feeling as energetic. We didn't really eat before, prep very well, or drink enough caffeine, so I was just feeling kind of like low. And reminding myself too, like, you know, not every party has to be the best party, and that's okay. I think we as a society like to put a lot of pressure on ourselves that every time we go out, that every experience we have has to be the best. And we're constantly chasing highs and being like, I need to recreate the best experience I've ever had. And it's okay that not every night's going to be amazing. It's okay to have a mid experience. And it's also okay to acknowledge that and act upon it, right? So as Chris Lake was coming to a close, I was like, fuck, do I even want to be here? Like, I don't know. I'm just not feeling the vibe. I'm not really into it. The energy feels off. I'm tired. But this is where the lessons in being solo versus being with other people and where compromises come in. I knew that my friend was so excited about Zed. I've seen Zed a handful of times, mostly in Vegas. So I was excited about Zed, but I would have been okay leaving. Also, I think there was something about the fact that all the tickets were free that it was like, like we're not really going to lose anything if we go, you know? So I checked in with him after Chris Lake. He was feeling energetically the same. Like both of us were kind of like on a dip in our, you know, wave of emotions. But he was like, yeah, like I really want to stay for Zed though. Like let's just, you know, stick it out, figure it out, you know? So I was like, all right, cool, no problem. So Zed comes on, and let me paint the picture for you. The crowd is at the same level that me and my friend are at. The crowd was kind of like the entire Chris Lake set. Not really super up, not really super in it, just kind of there-ish, Zed comes on and he has this magnetism that is so contagious that it was almost as if he was standing at the front of the crowd and orchestrating energy. I have truly never seen anything like it, like this dialed in before. And it's such a reminder of, okay, this is why this man is such a fucking star. I think a lot of people who are true ravers and EDM fans may have issue with the more commercialized artists like Zed, like John Summit, all these like super commercial people that have residencies and people, but it's like, you know what? This is why these people are stars. It's a difference between an actor and a movie star. It's a difference between a singer and a fucking pop sensation. You could energetically feel the moment he hit the stage and you watched it. I was up on the raised surface and I turned around and I looked at the crowd and he was just dancing with energy. And he had everybody from like, let's say about a 3 or to a 4 to an 8 or a 9. Everybody just went way up, energy rising. It was like fucking magnetic. All of a sudden I had all this energy. I wasn't tired at all anymore. And I was like, yeah, let's go. One of the really fun things that he did too was that he would take well-known drops, like well-known, like builds, and then he would drop it and then he would turn it into a different type of song. So it would be like, you'd be singing along, and it would be the recognizable drop. The drop would hit, and then he would hit you with something completely unexpected, and everybody would fucking lose their minds. They're like, what the heck? Such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful reminder of the power of presence and the power of magnetism and how important energetics are in everything, in music, in performance, in dancing, in just like, it just fucking blew my mind. So this night was particularly funny and interesting because, again, like I said, my intention that night was just to lock into the music. So I wasn't really trying to do anything else. I wasn't really looking to connect with other people that night. But, obviously I do because I'm me. Recently, I've been noticing that because of my just natural state and my energy, I'm having people like flock to me in ways that they never have in my life. And it's been confusing to me, and I figured it out, but it was something that I was really sitting with, where I was like, people would be like, oh my God, I love your energy. You're so great. You're so cool. I kind of just want to be around you. And in my head, I was like, yeah, like I know I'm great, but you don't know that. Like I haven't said anything. I haven't done anything to show you that. So why are you like flocking to me, And I had some conversations over the last month with different people and some downloads and realizations for workshops and things like that. And what has come to my attention is it's just my state of being, right? When you're in a state of being, there's an energetics to that people are just naturally gravitated to. And you don't have to do, you don't have to say, you don't have to prove, you just have to be. You get to just be, and people can feel your authenticity and they can feel your beingness, and they're just attracted to it. So that was happening to me a lot. That night particularly, I had this girl that was like hanging on to me. She was like, oh my God, I love your energy. You're so cool. You're so great. I just want to be around you. And I was like, okay, sure. Yeah, let's go. So, I'm dancing, I'm having a good time. And this girl's like, oh, are you guys going to any afters? And the boys, again, I'm a day girl, right? I mean, I'll go to my shows. I need to nap. I need to prep. But like, I'm never somebody that needs to be out until 3, 4 in the morning. That's just not my vibe. But again, compromising and knowing that I'm here with my friends, these boys were like, we're going out tonight, Amanda, prep, like it's happening. So I was like, okay, great. So this girl's like, are you guys going to any afters? I was like, oh, I don't know, like talk to these guys. So she talks to them and she's like, well, I'm friends with the people that are hosting the official afters. I can get you guys on the list if you want to. And I was like, great, easy, done. Just laughing at the fact that I didn't even manifest that or try for that. I was like, you just being in your authenticity and in your beautiful energy, things like this just appear. So for me and my 2 guy friends, she was able to get us on the list. And then I was like, hey, like, the whole set happens, it's beautiful, it's amazing, it ends. And she's with a group of a couple of other girls. I'm with these 2 guys. My friend had actually just switched out his car because he's moving soon. So he switched it with his parents' car, which is a big minivan. And I said to the girls, I was like, how are you guys getting to the afters? Because in my head, I was like, yeah, it's cool that they're going to get us on the list, but, you know, they're maybe not, like, I don't know, like something could always happen and it could not work out. So I was like, the best case scenario is that we all arrive together, right? And I was like, well, we have this big fucking car. We're sober. We could totally drive. And I was like, hey, do you want us to take you there? She was like, oh my God, yes. So we're walking out of the venue and it's like me and 4 of these girls and these 2 guys. And these girls are so cute, like adorable, very pretty, fun, you know, whatever. And I'm just looking at my friend and he's laughing at me because he's like, not only did I get us the official after party, got us free access to it, but I'm also filling his entire car with a group of beautiful women without trying, like literally just without even trying. And he just looks at me and he's like, Amanda, how do you do this? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I do know though, but I don't know, but I do know. It's just funny when these situations unfold. I was telling him this really funny story about Vegas, how I went to Vegas for my sister's 21st birthday. And it was me, my sister, and my brother, and we were going out all weekend. And my brother has worked in Vegas. He's had all different levels of access to things. And he is like, Amanda, I have never experienced Vegas the way that I have when I was with you. He was like, you unlock doors and open up opportunities and situations in ways that I have never seen or experienced ever in my life before. And I was like, yeah. For my sister's 21st birthday, literally, I got us the best table at every single show. And I got myself invited, my sister invited, and then I got my brother invited. Free bottles, free this. I think there was like a $30,000 table that I got us invited to once that was split in half. And then we were trying to go to the other side. And the people that worked there were like, oh, you can't go there. And then I got us invited to that one too. And it was just wild and insane. And this was another funny reminder. I love when people get to see it, right? When other people are like in the energy, because for me, it's like, it's just kind of happening all the time. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But like when someone from the outside is like, how the fuck did you do this? How did you just get all of this without even trying? And so that was funny. It was such a fun night, such a fun night. We had the best time. And then we kind of just vegged the rest of the trip, hung out, got to catch up. You know, it was just really beautiful and fun to get to rekindle that connection and be in each other's energy and have this really beautiful closing experience before he goes on to his next journey. So that was so wonderful, and I'm so happy I got to do that. Then I went straight from Atlanta to LA, landed in LA, and then went and stayed with my friend Natalie, who lives in Israel, but just happened to be in LA the same few days that I was there, that we had just discovered a few weeks before. So that was just a beautiful, beautiful serendipity. But dude, I was so tired. So far that month already, I was in Mexico City, I was in Miami for a few days, I went to St. Louis for my sister's graduation, then I came back, then I went to Atlanta, then I was with other people. Also, throughout all of this, by the way, like you have to realize, okay, like when people talk about how much fun it is to be a nomad, running around doing all this, like I have 0 alone time, like literally none. I cannot remember the last time I was alone. So my nervous system is working on like super, super, super drive. So I just get back from this festival and I'm at my friend's place for a few days decompressing before I go to another festival. And I'm like feeling fucking exhausted, like so tired. So I touched down. The next day, I also realized I had another friend that's been living in Brazil, who was the friend that helped me move out of my apartment, who just happened to be in LA the same dates as well. So I was like, okay, like all of these synchronicities, all of this serendipitous connections and alignment with timing. I was like, of course I have to see this friend. So I end up spending the whole next day with her. We go to a workout class, we do some co-working together, we hang out. I had a whole group dinner because I was like, I'm only in LA for such a short time and I have all these friends and I don't have a car or access to get around. So I wanted to organize a big dinner to have everybody. So my first day was like a lot. Day 2, I was feeling like I was getting sick, which was concerning because I flew in to go to this festival and now I'm like 2 days into being in LA and I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna be well enough to go to a festival. I don't know how my health is gonna be doing. The next day I was like, I need a nothing day. I need to just lay by the pool. I can get some work done, but like I need to not go out, not see people, not work out, just fucking chill and calm my nervous system and take a lot of supplements. Holistic, her mom like was giving me all these different pills and treatments and citrus and all these different things. So I did all that. And then that night, her and her family were going to go to dinner and she was like, take a bath in my house. Oh my God. I had salts from the Dead Sea and candles all around, and I just had the most magical, relaxing, beautiful bath. I was giving myself that day to figure out if I was going to still go, because the next morning my friend was going to pick me up at 5 a.m. to go start driving to this next festival. And I sat with it and I was like, okay, I'm not feeling 100%, but that's okay. I'm going to be really gentle on myself at this next festival. I'm not going to fucking go crazy. My intention is going to be to network and connect and to experience the festival, but to be really gentle with myself and honor my body and honor where I'm at. And that was like a very, very, very clear intention that I set before going to this festival. So I told my friend, yes, I'm going. So I said goodbye to her. The next morning at 5 a.m., my other friend comes and picks me up. We start the drive to Lightning in a Bottle. I think I told you guys in the last episode a little bit of logistics of Lightning in a Bottle, but just as a refresher, this came about a couple weeks prior. I have a friend that I met at Coachella in 2022 who builds sets for these festivals. He and I were chatting. He gets a guest pass to these festivals and he doesn't ever use them. And he and I, again, like haven't seen each other or really chatted much since 2022, but he knows I love going to festivals. I had been hearing that Lightning in a Bottle was one that I absolutely have to experience. Like, this is a bucket list festival, one of the best of the best from all of these people that go to festivals all around the world. So I was like, okay, like I have to go to this one. So long story short, I connect with him. He offers me the ticket. Now I'm going out there. I also, and this is an interesting piece of it as well, like when he offered me the ticket, an old version of me, because there was some romantic connection back in 2022 when I met him. And so that was kind of, you know, we had our little moment, and then it's been years since I've seen him. And again, this is such as life with friendships and relationships and all the things. And so he offers me the ticket, and I was like, okay, I need to have a conversation with this man because I need him to be extremely clear on what are the expectations of this exchange, right? I didn't want there to be expectations that I didn't agree to, or have him think one thing and me think one thing and then arrive there and have it be uncomfortable and just not fair. So this is where an old version of me definitely wouldn't have done something like this. New version of me, 100% yes. So I reached out to this guy a few weeks before and I was like, hey, let's have a conversation. I'd love to discuss like what your intentions are and what your desires are in terms of an exchange for this ticket. We get on the phone. And obviously there was a desire for like some sort of a romantic rekindling. I mean, that kind of goes without saying. But I was like, you know, I was like, am I going to be sleeping in your van with you? Am I going to be with you the whole time? Are you going to be working? And I'm basically going to be your girlfriend for the week. What is going to be happening here? We hop on the phone. We start to have this conversation. And essentially we land on, we were not going to stay in the same like housing thing. I set up a whole separate camp and tent, and like, you know, I was like, I have other people here. I don't need to be with you. Are you going to be working the whole time? Like, what's the vibe? And he basically just shared with me. He was like, listen, I go to these things all the fucking time. And when I'm off, I don't have anyone to hang out with. And I was like, cool. So you need a festival buddy. You want somebody to connect with you and hang out with you. And he's a little bit more introverted and shy. So like I could introduce him to people. We could connect. This was like the intention going in. He was like, yeah, that'd be great. He's like, obviously, I would be lying if I said that I wasn't hoping that something may rekindle or happen with us. But obviously, if it doesn't, that's okay. I was like, great. I'm not saying that's completely off the table, but I just don't want to go there with you having one idea of what that means and me having a different idea of what that means and us not being on the same page of that. So I think that wisdom of initiating that conversation is something that has come from just years and years of maybe putting myself in uncomfortable situations and being in situations where I'm like, damn, I wish we had spoken about this in advance. And there have been a few things throughout this month where it was like, oh, I'm still learning this lesson. There's still moments where I'm like, oh, we could have had a conversation here that maybe would have made this feel a little bit better. But now we're like navigating through the stickiness because we didn't quite clearly communicate with each other. But we're getting better. It's all about progress. And that's why I'm sharing this with you, especially women that are accepting gifts from men. And I know this is like a little controversial, but it's very important to be clear about what that exchange is. I mean, sometimes it's very straightforward and it's okay if it is whatever it is. There's no right or wrong in terms of what the exchange is. The most important part about it is that both parties are clear and on the same page as to what that exchange is, and both parties are agreeing to it up front. Because the worst thing that could possibly happen is that again, one person has one idea of the exchange, the other person has another idea of the exchange. You arrive in a situation and now you're stuck and one person's unhappy and it could become dangerous. It could become a bunch of things that you don't know. And so I'm happy I had this conversation with this guy. So cut to now I'm driving up with my other friend. There was another layer and element to this. There's a friend of mine that I was very, very, very close with. I met her at Burning Man in 2019. And her and I were like best friends for a few years. We had a little bit of a falling out like a couple years down the line of our friendship. And we didn't speak for a while. And then we had a rekindling before Burning Man of 2022. And then after Burning Man of 2022, I left LA. So we left things on kind of like a unclear place. There was some things that weren't really quite clearly communicated and we still need to have a conversation. So I want to be respectful of that. But basically we didn't leave things on the best of terms. We kind of just left things. But this is somebody that I've had a deep relationship with, a very, very close friendship with in my past. And I actually know the guy that organized the camp that drove me up through her. So it wasn't super surprising that she would be joining the camp, but it was like 2 days before Lightning in a Bottle. She was like, hey, I'm coming. Her and I never even spoke one-on-one about it. We just were placed in a group text together. So she knew I was coming. I knew she was coming, but we never said anything. And I think both of us were kind of like, all right, like we'll see how this plays out when we get there. So just giving you all the background and all the elements so that you can understand what we're walking into here for Lightning in a Bottle. So we arrive at Lightning in a Bottle. And again, remember, just like my state, I'm not like, Amanda. I'm like, Amanda. This festival just blew me away. I've always said to people, you have to go to Burning Man. I'm like, you could travel all around the world. You could go to all these different places in the world, but Burning Man is like going to another planet. I think the best way I could describe Lightning in a Bottle is if Burning Man and Coachella had a baby. It is not Burning Man, because Burning Man is tough. One of the things about Burning Man that makes it so magical and makes it so special is how difficult it is. There's so many elements, and honestly, I might do an entire episode just talking to you guys about Burning Man because I don't think we've done that yet. But Lightning in a Bottle has so many magical elements that Burning Man has without the level of difficulty, which makes it a little less magical, but it's also still pretty fucking magical. And I think that if you're somebody that is curious about festivals, there's a difference too between camping festivals, like week-long festivals versus 2 days of shows. I would say Breakaway was more like concert style. Still felt like a festival, but it's not like you're camping there. There's not like all these different nooks and crannies and different things to explore. It was just a totally different experience. Lightning in a Bottle blew me the fuck away. I was blown away by the entire experience. And I was really surprised at the connections that I made. I'm going to be going annually from now on. I mean, this is truly like, it was that good. My camp was so special. I actually got really, really close with this brother-sister duo and ended up hanging out with them for a lot of it. But again, it's interesting when I go to these places because even if I'm camping with a group, I'm always kind of on my own. And so day one, I definitely went off and did my own thing. I went to meet up with this guy that got me the ticket. We said hello, talked for like 10 minutes, and I think I saw him one other time the entire festival. We tried to connect a few times. He worked a lot more than he had anticipated, so I really didn't have the opportunity to see him. And it was, you know, interesting. I still haven't talked to him, so I'm hoping that he's okay with that. And like, I did my best. I reached out to him multiple times while I was there, and it was just sort of like misconnections. But I'm so grateful to him because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been able to be there. So day one, I ended up waiting around for him, met up with him for a bit, and then I wanted to get my hair braided. There was a whole fucking saga with the hair braiding. I had an appointment to get my hair braided in Atlanta. Me and my friend went to a restaurant while we were there. This girl had braids. She connected me with a friend of hers. I ended up paying a deposit, and this girl went fucking cuckoo crazy bananas and was like super unprofessional and really like insane. And so I ended up losing my deposit and not braiding my hair with her. And then I was trying to get my hair braided in Beverly Hills before I went, and there were some miscommunications with that person. It didn't work. So I was like, there was some reason why the universe didn't want me to get my hair braided, and I figured out why. When I got to the festival, they had braiding stations, which was great, but that's not the key part. So I go to this place. It's like a little trailer where they're doing hair braiding. And I actually walked past it. I saw this adorable little girl with her braids done with these little like butterfly clips in her braids. And she was just like, ugh, the cutest little thing. And I was like, where'd you get your hair braided? She was like, here, my mom does it, blah, blah. So I talked to them there. They tell me how much it costs, and there was kind of like a very long wait for it. So I walk away, and there was 2 places that were braiding hair, and I had found the other one first, and I actually made an appointment with the other one first, and then I found this one, and this one was actually cheaper. And so I felt an obligation to go back to the other one. So I go back to the other one, and I was like, hey, just so you know, there's another group doing it for cheaper. Like, since I signed up with you guys first, would you be willing to match the price? They were like, no, sorry. So I was like, okay. So then I went back to the other trailer. I put my name down, and I'm like hanging out waiting. And this little girl comes up to me, and she was like, can you take me roller skating? And the roller skating rink was like literally eye shot from the trailer where we were. And I was like, I mean, you can ask your mom. If your mom says it's okay, sure. So she goes in and she asks her mom. Her mom comes to me and she's like, are you sure you want to do that? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm here waiting to get my hair braided anyway. I was like, roller rink's right there. As long as you come and get me when you're ready, like, I'm happy to hang out with your kid while you do that. Like, that's totally fine. She's like, okay. So we go to the roller rink's closed. I end up on a fucking 2-hour excursion with this child. Her name was Sushi. This little kid was a firecracker. She was like the embodiment of my inner child. I was just laughing at the fact that I'm at a music festival, and day 1, I spent 2 hours babysitting for free. I ended up getting a discount on my hair, but you know, that wasn't even the point. It was just like so refreshing and fun to be hanging out with this kid who was literally just cracking me up. We went to this little store, and she walks in and she goes, can you buy me that? And I was like, your mom can. She was like, why? You're a grown up. You have money. Like, very sassy, very confident, very sure of herself. Just a very smart little girl. She's 6 years old. We were in the store. We were playing with bubbles. We almost got kicked out of the store because the guy was like, hey, like, you're, slicking the floors. Like, you guys can't do that in here. So we're like, okay. So then we leave. And we go to the roller rink, and I had said to her, I was like, oh my God, like, we wreaked havoc in that store. And so she meets this guy. She was like, yeah, we were just in the store and we were wreaking havoc. Like, just a little baby sponge. But she goes up to these grown-ass adults and is like, I bet I could skate better than you. Hurry up, put your skates on. I want to beat you. And ends up racing and competing with these men. I'm cracking up and dying. And everybody thinks she's my kid because why would I be hanging out with this kid that's not mine? And I kept telling people, I was like, the best part of all of this is that I don't know this child. Like, this kid's mom is over there. Like, I don't even know who she is. So funny. Such an epic, hilarious, random, super Amanda, if you know me, way to like ease into the festival. Love this child. She invited me to her dance recital the next week. I was like, I am auntie forever now. Like, I love this kid. So that was day 1. And then this was on a Thursday, I think was the day we got there. And I was like, dude, I'm good. Like, I don't need to go out tonight. This is the long haul. Again, I was like, I'm honoring my body. There was nobody that I really wanted to see that night, so I wasn't going to go out of my way to force myself to stay up all night to just to prove a point, to just because I'm at a festival and I have to. I was like, no, there's multiple nights here. I'd rather stay up for somebody that I really want to see, and I'm going to honor my body and go to bed early. So I go to bed early. I wake up the next day, and I had heard from somebody else that they had maybe had an ant problem, but I was like, there is no problems in my tent. I was drinking electrolyte water, and I had it right by my bed. And I woke up in the morning, and I thought that at night I like felt things on me, but I also thought that I was imagining it because somebody had mentioned ants, and I was just internalizing it. I was not. When the sun came up again, because I'm in a tent, so the minute the sun comes up, you're up. Sun came up, and I looked down, and there's like ants crawling all over me. There are ants all over my tent. I was like, okay. Again, old version of me would have flipped a shit. Old version of me would not have been okay. Old version of me would have caused a scene. It would have been a whole big thing. This version of me, I was like, I don't want to deal with this, actually. This is not, no. So I wake up. I leave my tent. I took the drink out because they were all like congregated around the drink because that was the only food source or something sweet in my tent. Which, lesson learned, do not keep electrolyte water in your tent if you are camping because you will attract ants. Anyways, I got up. I was like, it's okay. It's all good. I don't need to think about it. I don't want to worry about this. I unzipped my tent, and in true festival fashion, the minute I did that, there was some girl that was coming back from her night out, and we crossed paths, and then we ended up hanging out the whole morning. And the cool thing about this festival is that it's situated on a lake. So I was like, oh my God, like at Burning Man, like you wake up early, you're in the hot sun, there's nothing to do. I was like, let's go lay by the lake and chill. So I end up meeting this girl. We're hanging out at her camp for a bit. Then we go over, we lay by the lake, we watch the sunrise, and I'm looking at the schedule. So this is a transformational festival. So that means that during the day, there's yoga and sound baths and workshops and educational talks. And then at night, it turns into the party. And so we're hanging out, we meet some other friends, right? This is festival culture, all times of day, all times of night. You're meeting people that are waking up, people that have been up all night. We're just weaving through and just meeting people constantly. There's no moments of nothing ever. So we have this beautiful morning. I'm looking at the itinerary for the day, and I realize that there's a sound bath happening like in 30 minutes. So I was like, amazing. I'm going to start my day with a sound bath. I'm going to just ground down, have this beautiful morning. So I wake up after that. I end up meeting this man who goes and gets matcha with me and buys me a $15 matcha and then disappears, doesn't ask for my information, just, kind stranger. Then I meet this other group of girls, and I'm sitting there talking to them, and they give me breakfast. And I was like, this is the magic of Burning Man, by the way. It's like whatever you need, whatever you want, it just kind of manifests and comes your way. And like we were talking about before, I was talking about that energy. Festivals are such an amazing place to practice your power of manifestation, because when you're at a festival, truly anything is possible. I know at Burning Man one time, I was like, oh my God, I'm craving like a grilled cheese. And then all of a sudden somebody on a grilled cheese cart will just come right by. Like it is like instant manifestation, just crazy experiences like that just unfold. And so I was having these magic moments like this. I go back to my camp after this experience, and I'm like, okay, I'm praying that the ants are gone. I had taken the source out. So I'm like, hopefully they're gone. I go back in there and they're gone. And I was like, wow, moral of the story is avoid your problems and they solve themselves. I was like running around camp telling people that was the lesson for the day. And everyone was like, not so sure that's exactly it. But that was it for me for that. And then, I went to some amazing talks. There's this woman, Blue, who is like such a important pillar on my spiritual journey, that I got to see her speak and just be in her energy. I had no expectations. So I think everything that happened felt extra magical and extra beautiful because I wasn't expecting anything. But fast forward to Friday night. So Friday night, I'm at the main stage, and I am dancing on top of an art car, right? So there's like this mini Winnebago, and I'm dancing on top of it. I am in my own fucking energy. I'm up there by myself. My camp and my friend group they're on the ground, maybe like a yard away or something. And I'm dancing and I'm having a good time. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I have two men approach me. One from the left side, one from the right side. And they're both like, Amanda! And they're both looking up at me, coming from these different directions. And I am like so out of sorts. I can't even place who's who, what's what, what's happening. So to my left, I have a friend from summer camp, of course. He was a counselor when I was a camper. And then when I became a counselor, we were counselors at the same time. The last time I saw him was at 2022 Burn, when he had just gotten engaged. And I haven't seen him or really spoken to him much since. But again, he's one of those friends and relationships and connections that like the foundation's there. He's a good friend of mine. To the right is a man that I went on one singular date with in 2022. Basically, the story goes, I met this man in 2022. We went on one epic first date. I met him after Ecstatic Dance. We went to a restaurant. He was passing through LA at the time, and he and I closed down the restaurant. And I like specifically didn't clean my room that night because I was trying to not bring people home the first night that I met them. So I was like, cool, if my room is messy, there's no way I can invite this man into my apartment. It's not happening. So I didn't. So we finish, and we're like, we wanted to continue hanging out because we were having such a good time. So I was like, I'd love to see your van. And it's funny when I look back at that period of my life, because I'm like, before I became a nomad, I was very attracted to nomads. Like anytime I met somebody that lived in a van or was living nomadically or traveling nomadically, I like really was so interested, and I was dating a lot of people that lived in vans and were traveling. So it was just very funny, that chapter. And now looking at the way that I'm living my life now, obviously I'm not living in a van, but my lifestyle looks very, very, very different than it did back in 2022. So after dinner, I go to his van, we hang out some more, and then he had been parked outside of the restaurant, and I was like, we should move the van, you know, so we ended up moving it to my apartment. He kind of asked if he could come in, and I was like, no, you're not invited. I had just come from the beach, so I went into my apartment, I showered, I put on pajamas, and I was like, let's continue, let's keep hanging out. One thing led to another. I ended up staying the night in the van. We wake up the next morning, we both had work. We were both working remotely that day. And instead of parting ways, we kept hanging out. We kept hanging out the entire next day. It was, again, just one of those just amazing first dates. It was literally a 24-hour first date. I think we met at 7 p.m. the night before and left 7 p.m. the next day. He checked so many boxes on my list, boxes that I didn't even know existed. He was perfect in my book. From the limited knowledge that I had of him, I was like, this guy is fucking perfect. We have amazing chemistry. I really like him after one date. As much as you can like someone after one date, right? So we chatted a bit a few days later, and he called me, and he was very clear with me. And he was like, hey, I just want you to know, like, I had a really great time with you. You know, like that date was amazing. I loved our connection, but I'm not looking for anything right now. And it feels like you are. And I just want to be clear about that. And I was like, obviously kind of bummed and devastated, because I'm like, damn, it's very rare for me to meet someone that I feel like that about so fast. And I was just disappointed that there wasn't going to be an opportunity. But in my head, what I heard was not right now. I was like, obviously our connection was so strong. It felt like such a good fit. It didn't make any sense in my mind why it wouldn't be a possibility unless it was just like a timing thing with the ex, whatever. So I was like, cool. I clocked it in my head as like a not right now thing. So over the years, we connected, we chatted here and there. He lived somewhere else. I lived somewhere else. I started traveling. Long story short, after my Euro trip in 2023, I was back in the States around July 2023. And he and I were talking about getting together. While I was still in Europe, we were talking about seeing each other when we got back. And then he hits me with, again, super clear communicator, but he let me know while I was still in Europe. He was like, hey, listen, I want to be really transparent with you. And I was like, okay, all right, let's hear this. And he was like, so I want to be really transparent with you. The weekend before we're meant to see each other, I'm going on a friend trip, and an ex of mine will be there, and I just don't know how I'm gonna feel after seeing that person. And I was like, okay, thank you for letting me know, totally fair. I was like, why don't we tentatively plan on seeing each other, keep that date on the books, you go on your friend trip, and then when you get back from your friend trip, call me and we'll have a conversation. And if it's a no, it's a no. And if it's a yes, it's a yes. And it's all good. And you've told me now, so I'm aware that this is a possibility. And like, that feels good for me. Does that feel good for you? And he was like, yeah, like, thank you for being so understanding. Obviously in my head, I'm like thinking, you know, I'm like, I really want to see this guy. So I get back from Europe. We're getting close to the date. He's on his trip. I'm like waiting for him to get back, like waiting for the call. And we get on the phone and he was like, hey, I don't think it's a good idea for you to come out here. I'm so sorry. When I tell you, I was heartbroken. Like, I don't know how you could be so heartbroken over somebody you've only been out with once. I don't get like this with most people, but there was something about this guy that I was just devastated. But, and also in that moment, I was like, okay, this is never gonna happen. Now we were a year out from the first time we had met. We had been talking. The first time he said it wasn't the right timing. Now it's not the right timing again. I was like, Amanda, you gotta let this guy go. And so he was like, I still wanna be friends, blah, blah. And I was like, yes, but like, I need a second. So this was in 2023. So this is literally 2 years ago, even now. And so I was like processing that, not really talking to him as much here and there. Once in a while, we'd send each other a song or whatever, but I was still getting over him. It's interesting when you're mourning a relationship that never happened, because you're mourning the idea of the person that you created in your head. Because again, I still don't know him that well. All I know is the short experience that we had together, and then everything that I've made up about what he could be like and what we could be like together. So it's a little crazy, but I'm sharing this because I know that I'm not the only one that has experienced this. So cut to, haven't really spoken. I'm going to this festival, and something in the back of my head was like, I wonder if he's going. Of course, I've had other connections, other relationships, other experiences, but he's just always been somebody that's been in the back of my mind. Like, he comes up in my thoughts quite often. And so even as I was going to this festival, a part of my brain was like, I wonder if he's going to be going to this. And I checked his Instagram, and he hasn't posted since we met, since like 2022. So I was like, no, I'm not going to figure it out through that. So I let it go. So now we're back. We're back in the moment. I'm on top of the Winnebago. I'm dancing. I'm in my energy. It's like honestly the perfect moment for somebody to come up to me, because I'm not in wanting or needing or desiring energy. I'm just in my own fucking energy. And so he comes up, and it's him and two friends. Again, I have two people at the same time, two completely different walks of life coming up to me in the exact same moment, and I am overwhelmed. I see my friend Nick, and I'm like, oh my God, hi. And then I see him, and I'm like, what the literal fuck? This is the last person on earth that I expected to see in this moment. I was just at such a loss for words. I was just so confused and excited, and I can't even describe the mix of emotions that I was feeling. So I'm frazzled in that moment. We had a moment of connection. He was really thirsty. I told him that my water was over by where my friends were. I gave him some water. He introduced me to his friend, and his friend happened to be the friend that he was visiting when he was traveling through LA the last time that we met. So his friend actually knew of me because, again, it was this epic date, crazy experience. So his friend was like, oh my God, I've heard so much about you from all these years. Crazy to put a face to the name. It's at a festival, so he's like, we're gonna go into the crowd. And I was like, cool, I'm gonna stay here. Maybe we'll link back up after. I'll be here when you're coming out. My crew ended up moving. We ended up moving on with the evening, and in my head, I was like, okay, he knows I'm here. I'm hoping we have another moment. I'd love to reconnect with this guy, but I don't want to be the one to reach out. You know, I'm going to be the cool girl. I'm going to be the strong girl. And so I was like, I'm going to hold out. I'm going to hold out. I lasted until 3:30 in the morning. I was still out and about with my friends. So I texted him and I was like, hey, are you guys still out and about? He didn't read the text for 24 hours. So 24 hours go by, which we're at a 4-day music festival. That's a fucking long time. I see him, we have this connection. I'm expecting him to text me right away or to be like, hey, I want to see you. And there's nothing. And then not only nothing from him, but I reached out and then I hear nothing back. And I was like, fuck me. So I let it go. So I moved on. I went to workshops. I made new friends. I saw Monolink. I saw all these amazing artists. I'm dancing. I'm having a great time. And then I go out that night. I was lower energy that next night, on Saturday night. There was something in the back of my brain that was like, fuck, I can't believe. Like, again, it's so consuming when you're so desiring a particular outcome and it's not happening. My friends went to go see this drum and bass set, and I was really tired, so I went and laid in a hammock. I had stayed out till 4 in the morning the day before. And so I don't know if I had just recharged from being in the hammock, or while I was in the hammock, he texted me, and all of a sudden I had all of this energy again, which is just a funny thing to notice. We're just funny little silly humans, and it's just interesting to notice how our emotions ebb and flow based on what is happening in our life circumstantially. But I'm laying in the hammock, and he texts me. Also, context on him. He's not big on social media. I know he doesn't really go on his phone much, particularly at a festival. So the fact that he hadn't read it wasn't shocking to me. I was just like, damn, that sucks. Because I wish that he was excited enough to reach out to me and want to see me, So he replies to my text and he was like, I'm so sorry. I'm just seeing this. I'd love to see you tomorrow if you're open to that. And I was like, yeah, cool. I was like freaking out. I was like, yes, like 100% yes. So then I had the best rest of the night. I was all of a sudden so energetic, so happy, total mood shift. Go to sleep, wake up the next morning. I went to a ecstatic dance cacao experience. And he and I were texting, and he came and met up with me like later that morning. I wasn't hanging around waiting. You know, I did my own thing. Again, an old version of me would have just been like sitting there waiting by the phone. And I was like, no, like I need to be in my own energy. I need to do my own thing. My world does not revolve around this person. Big lessons, big medicine. Like, I have a crush on this guy. I've had a crush on this guy for 4 years at this point. And so I meet up with him. I was laying on a raft with a friend of mine. He came and joined, and then my friend left. And we started catching up. And after talking about both of our last like weeks, I was like, you know what? Like, I don't want to spend our whole time here with each other catching up on the last 3 years. You know, why don't we just be here now? And he was like, yeah, I like that. So we just kind of fast forwarded, and we were like, cool, doesn't matter. I mean, since we've last seen each other, I quit my job, I packed up my apartment, I've been traveling around the world, I started a business, his business has been booming, all these things have been happening for both of us. And I was like, it doesn't fucking matter. Let's just drop into the present moment and be here. And so we did that. We chatted for a while, and then he was like, do you want to go to a tea ceremony with me? So we go to the tea ceremony, and then at the tea ceremony, they were serving hape. Hape is a ceremonial snuff. It's tobacco that is like blown up your nose, and sounds crazy woo-woo, but it's a medicine that I've worked with. It's a medicine that he's worked with. It's a medicine that supports you in grounding and coming back home to yourself and coming into your body and connecting to self. And so we're sitting there having the tea ceremony. He sees the hape, and he's like, do you want to sit with hape? And I was like, sure. So there was a guy that comes around, and he served me first. And he served me dirty. So hape, you can be served light, which is like a small amount, which is a little bit of an experience, or you could be served a lot, and it could be a very intense experience. And I got the intense package. It was, I'm trying to figure out how to describe the feeling. It's like you're immediately dropped into the present moment. It's extremely grounding, but it also can feel like a lot of emotions coming up. So after you're served, you sit in meditation for a bit and take it in and process it. So he goes over and serves this guy while I'm in my process. And I hear him being like, hey, don't serve me as much as you served her. I don't want to have that crazy of an experience. So I'm sitting in my meditation. He's sitting in his meditation. And I'm breathing through it. I'm having an intense experience. And at one point, I don't remember if he reached out to me or I reached out to him, but like we end up like kind of holding hands, or I put my hand on his leg, or there's some moment of connection. And he reciprocates that connection. And then the guy that served me the hape was seeing how I was responding to him as I'm going through my process. I'm kind of like leaning over and just breathing through it. And I'm reaching now for this guy even more. And the person that served me was like, stop reaching for this person. You don't need anybody outside of yourself. You're whole. You don't need him. You don't need anyone. You're safe. You're whole. Let go. And I was like, damn, you don't even know the context of this rekindling connection. You have no fucking idea what is happening here, and what beautiful medicine to receive. And so I come out of the medicine-ish. I was still in it for about an hour, but I come out of the deep part of it, and I look over at him, and he's sweating bullets, and he's breathing, and he's really in it. We had actually gone to the tea ceremony, which is in the same location as this workshop that I was really wanting to go to. I was like, hey, like the workshop's starting. I really want to be here, but I can't participate in the way that I had thought because of how I'm feeling right now. I was like, do you want to just go lay down by the workshop? And he was like, yes. I was like, great, I'm happy we're both feeling on the same page energetically right now. And so we go and we lay down, and we're chatting, we're listening, we're just being. Again, this whole episode, we're talking about these relationships that you build this connection with someone, and then it doesn't matter how much time goes by, it doesn't matter how much you catch up, how much you connect, how much you talk, it's like the core of that connection is there, and you don't need anything else. And so we were laying down, and like we were cuddling a little bit. There was one point where we were kind of holding hands. Very PG, very sweet, but just really nice. I think both of us, our nervous systems feel really safe with each other, or I'll speak for myself. I just feel really, like I feel like I know this person in ways that I shouldn't, but I do. And after the workshop ended, his friends met up with us and got some food. And then we went our separate ways. He went off with his friends. I went and did the rest of my day. And then we were chatting and decided to link up later that night. He had something of mine, I had something of his, so we needed to do a logistical exchange. But then I was like, am I going to spend the night hanging out with him and his friends? Is something going to happen? I was like, I don't know. Anything's possible at this point. So I go to the festival with my friends, and then he and I are texting. We share locations. We end up meeting up. We end up doing the exchange. Monolink was playing at the main stage. I end up spending Monolink with him and his friends. And I could tell energetically something was off. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but it was like, even when I met up with him, he was like laying on a big hammock, like a 5-person hammock or 6-person hammock. I could tell he wasn't as open to being physically connected with me as he was in the afternoon. And so I was kind of reading into that energy. And us intuitive women, man, we know. We are so sensitive. You boys think that you're able to be so cool and so slick. We could tell immediately when something has shifted. And so we go to see Monolink, and I'm in my fucking element. Like, at this festival in general, I'm dancing, I'm meeting new people on the dance floor, I'm getting down, and I kept kind of like looping back to him and his friend and just doing an energy check. You could tell if someone's open and wants to dance with you and is making eye contact with you, or when you go up to someone and they're just like, yeah, like, you know, kind of a little non-responsive. And so he was sort of giving me some of that energy, and so I just kept checking in like energetically with him. I would come over, try to dance with him a little bit, realize he wasn't that into it, and then just go and dance with my new friends on the dance floor, like in front of him. Like, it was like, oh, like, cool, like, I'm good. This was all like nonverbal though. And at one point, like, he got a lollipop, and so we were sharing a lollipop. So I was using the lollipop as a way to like loop back, and I would take it and then I would give it back to him and kind of like get a sense of his energy. And I was like, all right, still not open, cool. All right, that's cool. So after the set, I, again, now with my new communication skills, I pulled him aside. I was like, hey, I want to do a check-in. He was like, good, me too. I was like, great. I was like, listen, I have other friends here. My friends are right over there. I have a whole group of people I can hang out with. I have a lot of other people I can hang out with. I don't need to be here if you don't want me here with you and your friends. I totally get it. It's all good. Just let me know. He was like, I was reflecting upon this afternoon, and I just want to be transparent and clear with you that I don't want to move forward physically with you beyond what happened this afternoon, which was just cuddling and a little bit of holding hands. And I was like, okay. And he was like, yeah, I feel like if I don't say that, it might just happen, and I don't want that to happen. So I just need to get that off my chest. And when I tell you, it took every ounce of my being not to say, why? I still don't get it, and I don't know. And all I wanted was to know. And then my higher self came online, and she was like, Amanda, it doesn't matter why. It doesn't matter why. He is not choosing you. Period. End of story. For the third time now, right? It was the first time when we met, the second time when we almost hung out, and now this is the third reconnection that we've had, the third window, the third possibility of a further connection. And by the way, my desire is not like be my boyfriend. My desire is like, let's explore what's here. There's obviously something fucking here. I want to lean into it and explore it deeper, but he doesn't want to. And I was like, okay. So he shared that. And then he was like, I love hanging out with you. I'd love for you to hang out with us tonight if you're down. And then I had to sit with that and be like, okay, do I still want to spend time with this person knowing that being physically intimate or exploring a further connection is off the table? And it was a yes, because I really like this guy, like beyond our physical chemistry, beyond our connection. Like, I really enjoy his presence. I really enjoy hanging out with him. We really get along. Like, I really have a good time. And so that was some big medicine for me. Oh my Jesus. Wow. Like, wow. And so I spent the rest of the night with him and his friends. We had the most amazing night. We saw John's Summit. We wandered around the festival. We got some food. It was So beautiful, so wholesome. And it's funny because I've said this in the past. I used to date guys that I would never be friends with. And then when I started coming back online and intentionally dating, I was like, okay, my new thing is that I will not go out with guys that I wouldn't hang out with if intimacy wasn't on the table. I'm just realizing this in real time as I'm saying this. I'm like, wow, what a great example. Because truly, he was like, nothing's going to happen. Nothing will happen. Nothing can happen. And still, I was like, I like you enough as a person that I still want to hang out with you, even knowing that. I'm still integrating. I'm still processing what all this means. I've been sitting with a lot of being chosen and really leaning into that self-love and knowing that I don't need validation from anybody else to know how wonderful and amazing and worthy I am of love. And if somebody doesn't want to be with me, it doesn't matter what the reason is. It doesn't matter what the why is. It just gets to be. And that person isn't perfect for me if they're not desiring me, if they're not choosing me. I used to have this list, this laundry list of all the things I was looking for in partnership. And from this experience, from other experiences, I was like, okay, before we have this great list of all these qualities that we're looking for in partnership, let's have number one be is available and wants me. That should be pretty fucking simple, but old me was like, oh, you're unavailable? Oh, you don't want me? Perfect. You're perfect for me. And no, I don't want that anymore. I want somebody that sees me, that sees what I bring to the table and is like, holy shit, I can't live without that. I need that. And it was very interesting because I made a post about this the other day and I had a few other men from my past who that post was not about come out of the woodworks. And it was, again, men that had half chosen me but not fully chosen me, and just me recognizing what is that pattern within me. And I'm getting stronger and better at it. And I think that this example, this experience at this festival was such a great example of how far I've come in that space, because an old version of me would have been fucking destroyed. An old version of me would have needed to know why and just not been able to handle it. And I'm good. I really am. Is there still a small part of me that wants to know why? Sure. Is there still a small part of me that's hoping that I'm going to hear from him and he's going to maybe watch this podcast and decide to reach out and give me an explanation? Sure. And it doesn't matter. If it's not him, it's not him, and that's okay. And I don't need to know why. And so big medicine there. And then within this as well, I had a bit of a rekindling with that old friend that I told you about. We didn't have the opportunity to drop in the way that I wanted to. I didn't think that we were going to at the festival. We were going to try to hang out after the festival, but I ended up leaving LA so shortly after we didn't get to. So that's still in the works, but I think that there is an opening and opportunity there. With that relationship, what I think the lesson was in that is that whenever we experience anything, we create our own story of what the situation is, and it's not ultimate truth. If two people are in a situation, one person has their truth and another person has their truth, and neither of them is ultimate truth. It's stories that you're telling yourself about the situation and your perspective, and vice versa, stories that you're telling yourself about the situation and your perspective, and vice versa. And so with this friend that I need to still have a conversation with, the last time we saw each other, something went down, and I created the story of what that meant, of what happened, and I never gave her the opportunity to share her story. I just kind of was like, okay, I'm moving, this is too stressful, I don't want to deal with this, bye. And I never dealt with it. And now years later, I realized we built a very strong foundation of a friendship. Even seeing her, it was like no time had passed. I really miss her. And it was a really beautiful rekindling, but it was like, okay, we have things to discuss. We have things that we need to talk about. And she deserves to have me open up and give her my side of the story and give her the opportunity to share what happened from her perspective and for us to come to a mutual understanding in between. So big lessons in communication, beautiful reminders in relationships, and more to come. So logistically, finished lightning in a bottle, went back to LA for a few days. I'm back now in Florida. My sister has a graduation party happening this weekend. I am facilitating a workshop at a festival in St. Pete next week. And then I have a very cool business opportunity that I can't share just yet, but I am very excited about. I have a big date on the 19th that's going to be a consultation call to see if this is potentially going to be a long-term client. If that becomes a thing, I will share more about that soon. And yeah, a lot of rekindlings happening in the DMs right now. A lot of lovers and men from my past that are reaching out, and we're chatting, and I'm exploring all possibilities and opportunities and options right now. And also, my number one priority is my own personal development, my own personal growth, and building my business and continuing to take steps forward towards my big dreams. So thank you for tuning in this week. I hope you were able to pull some wisdom and lessons. And damn, that was way more vulnerable than I was anticipating, but it is what it is. This is life. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, comment, reach out to me if any of this resonated with you, and I will see you on the next one. Mwah. Bye.